Exit solo layout. Yo, people! Welcome in, man, to the final stream of the evening. Big up to Mo. That's his tune. But by the way, I'm not ripping him off, by the way. That is legit StreamYard song. Like, so when people are like, that's Mo's song, anyone can use it. But Mo played it the other day. I was like, that is actually a tune, mate. Welcome in, Wolf.
Hey, cheers. Thanks for having me, LB.
Thanks for coming.
All right, Martin.
Yeah, evening. How happened?
I'll make you tell me.
Don't know. I heard Everton got points deduction, and then heard nothing but Manchester City. I've not heard much about Everton.
That's crazy, isn't it? It's been a crazy day. I think social media today has shown that we do really live rent free in a lot of people's heads, and it's probably
understatement of the year.
It's probably worse than we all probably thought. I think we all knew that was true, but I think today's really highlighted that shit. This is actually we don't just rent. We've got a fucking mortgage in your head. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it is a 35-year mortgage, and it's not going away, and it's incredible. The level of I don't even know what the word is, like jealousy, hatred, frustration. I don't know what the word is, but it really is pretty crazy, man. And like Mike said, this was meant to be about Everton today. This was Everton's special day, and they've had it robbed, and poor old Chelsea as well. You know what I mean? Like they were meant to be in this as well, and they've not been spoken about it either, man. So it's been a crazy one, Martin. But listen, what have you made of everything that's gone on today? And
do you know when I was younger, Mo, you may remember this. Yeah, Louis isn't as old as us, but remember, like in the 90s when United were the most hated team ever.
Yeah,
everyone hated them. Today, I actually thought we've surpassed that now. I think we've gone past that United hate level now. Today was really surreal, because anyone say they've just come from what? Antarctica. They've been in Antarctica for 6 months. They go on YouTube. The last thing they would actually think of is that Everton have been deducted points. You would have thought City has just been relegated down to the North Counties, Sunday League, wherever we're going. It's quite embarrassing, really. And it also shows that people actually don't know what they're talking about. If I see
100%.
another, I know what's going on. If I see another YouTube or social media lawyer or accountant, I'm going to scream. Because they haven't got a clue. They just got 115, 115, 115. I don't care. It's not even 115. You don't even know why you're shouting 115. Shut up. Oh.
I had the same thought, Martin. We're probably about the same age, and I'm actually a little bit embarrassed about some of the stuff I used to say when I was.
So he's done it already.
Thinking about, when you see somebody doing something and you think, oh man, that was me. I was that guy. I was talking about all kind of Ferguson, paying the referees and all of that nonsense. And yeah, it's come back. It's come back to us now. So yeah, it's mad.
It is crazy, man. I just what frustrates me, and it almost upsets me, right? It's like, I can accept all the bigger clubs talking about it, right? Because like that's the way the game works, yeah. But what upsets me a little bit, because they don't know about this, and I'm not saying this in a patronizing way, I'm being sincere, is like, when fans of smaller clubs talk about FFP, I'm like, do you not realize that FFP is actually hindering your football club? Because on my stream today, my reaction stream earlier on, I was saying, as I want FFP scrapped, right? Because I think it's a load of nonsense, and I think any club should be able to have that dream of being bought and rising up the leagues. But as a City fan, as an actual fan of the football club, I should be asking for FFP to be ramped up. Because we are a profitable football club. You know what I mean? So we don't have any limitations on FFP now, because we're adhering to all the rules. So this is why it frustrates me, man. Because I see fans of smaller clubs in lower divisions saying, "Oh, City getting away." I'm like, do you not want to be on the same journey? Would it not be great to be a fan of a club in the Championship? You followed the club for a decade, 2 decades in the lower divisions, get bought by a mega owner. He does up your stadium, he does up the training campus, he does the area up, and you get into the Premier League, and then you get into the Champions League, and you're at the new camp, and you turn to your mate in the 60th minute or whatever, and you look at your mate and go, "Fucking hell, what a journey!" But you don't actually go on that. You're not going to go on that journey because you're against it. And this is just where I'm just like, oh man, But the problem is because the media, the mainstream media, has been forcing this FFP is great down the throats for the last decade. And obviously they don't really understand how it works because they've not had to understand why it works. And I'm not trying to say like City fans know everything. The reason why City fans are more educated on this matter is because we've had to deal with it for the last decade.
It's
Yeah.
it's the biggest con job, in English football history for me. And the fact that it's particularly people who are new to the sport, just they think rules are rules and they don't look back into the origin of the rules to find out. Like today was the inevitable culmination of a set of rules that were implemented that were never good to begin with. An absolute farce, biased, written by clubs looking to stay at the top because where's all the money? The top four, it's in the Champions League, right? And they didn't want anybody breaking into that top four to get their hands on that Champions League money. So not only did those clubs invent the Champions League at a time when they were good, right? They then took all the money from it, right? And separated themselves from everybody else. They then introduced a set of rules to keep them there so that the Cities and the Chelseas couldn't happen. They were too late to get Chelsea. They were probably just a bit too late to get City. And now they're going out, they're going after clubs like Everton. And
Newcastle will be next.
Yeah. It's just they should you're right, LB. Those rules should never have been come into the game. And people don't go back and look at the origin. And they sound a little bit ignorant on the topic. So I'm with you. That's one set of fans that maybe need to do a bit more research on the matter. The fans of the lower clubs that will never win the league because of these rules. The other are the ones whose clubs, regardless of how much money City have spent, their clubs have spent more, right? So how have City cheated those clubs? How have City cheated? If money is the answer, and it's the money that's driven City to such success, and that's the cheating. How's a club like Manchester United, who spent more money than us, think that we've cheated them out of something? We haven't.
No.
We haven't. So yeah, there's fans of some of the top clubs who are big spenders, just like City, who don't get it, and are actually really cheeky in bringing it up. I mean, you're talking about financial sustainability and profit rules, right? And if you're a Man United fan, right, your club's in £1 billion of debt, and your stadium's falling apart. Yet you're chirping about sustainability. You're a clown. You're an absolute clown.
Well, again, that's why the FFP just is a load of nonsense. Because how can you have a club like City, who have for a long time been in no debt? I don't know if we've got debt now because didn't they take out like a cash loan with Barclays of like 600 million or something? But like whatever it is, anyway, it's sustainable. Well, you got, like you say, you got United who haven't invested into their stadium. They've not invested into the training ground. And, on the field, it's shocking. Off the field, it's an embarrassment. Yet they're just allowed to go. Oh, well, they're not, because the funny thing is, right, they actually failed FFP earlier. And a question, actually, I wanted to ask this on Saeed's show before, but I didn't have time. I had to go. How do you guys feel? And what's your views on sporting punishments like Everton have received for financial breaches? And to expand, how do you come up with the number of points to be deducted when it's a financial punishment? Because for me, and then I'll pass it on to you guys, when it's like a Juventus situation where they paid the refs or bribed the refs or whatever, that is clear. And I think every single fan in the world would say, yeah, relegate them, get them in the bottom division, start again, right? Because that's cheating. That is actual properly cheating. But when it's a financial breach, how do you quantify the amount of punishment? And who has picked 10 points for Everton? Who has gone 10 points? Because how do you decide? So they breached 20 million over 3 years. Who has decided that is worth 10 points? And how have they come to that decision?
Absolutely right. This is where they've backed themselves into a corner by allowing rules like this that they never anticipated, how they were going to deal with it. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I don't. It just seems really arbitrary to me.
Yeah.
The 10 points or whatever. They've created this problem for themselves, and now because not only have you got, how do you handle a financial breach with a sporting punishment? Well, now you've got 3 clubs that got relegated, all trying to sue Everton, right? Like it's just
Total domino effect all the way
yeah,
down.
it's never should have happened.
And to me, I honestly think it's a little bit of a not set up, but I honestly think they've done this to Everton, so then they've got an excuse to really come at us if they wanted to do it. Because like today you saw, well, if Everton have got 10 points for one, so you're going to get relegated because they've got 115. Even though it's 6, it's 115 in everyone else's 5 or 6. It's 115 in everyone else's mind. But it's. I honestly think the Premier League will got to be careful because they need to look at every single case on an individual basis. The Everton and Manchester City case are nothing alike. Absolutely as far north and south from each other as you can get. But everyone has immediately stuck the flags in the ground and gone, that is it. They are exactly the same. And it's like going into a court of law and being tried for, someone's getting done for fraud and someone's getting done for murder and having the same everything else and being seen the same way. That's basically what's going on. My mate of mine said it's a kangaroo court. It is going to become a kangaroo court if they're not careful with it. They really are, because this is meant to be an independent panel.
The worst thing that City are being accused of, right? Because they're talking about where's the money, the fake sponsorships and all that, like inflating your sponsorship deals. Okay, well, who are they being inflated by? Well, your owner. Oh, right. So he's sneaking his funds into some other companies to pay to prop City up. Yeah. What's wrong with that? Like that was never a problem, 20 years ago. That's why it's not for me people make it a huge scandal, like massive cheating and that. And it's all it is a business where an owner is trying to invest in his thing he owns. When has that ever been a problem in a business? That's what baffles me. It's made out to be like some massive scandal when it really isn't.
Before imagine us getting relegated out of the Premier League and we're sat there in League One, which is fine by me. Been there before, but we'll go down. We'll have a fun year or two and come right back up and start all over again and win again. Not going to be knocked out of the Champions League. Can you imagine how embarrassing that would be for you in the Premier League to have Manchester City as potentially the holders of the Champions League sat in League One on a championship? And then 1 week we're playing, no offense, Barnsley. Next week we're playing Real Madrid. See, I'd enjoy that. That'd be piss funny for me to sit there and watch that week in, week out. Imagine it, Real Madrid and Barnsley, alternate weeks. It'd be funny. But I just think they've got to be seriously careful because you're talking. I mean, for start, you just said them more about what is it they're accused about. They're basically saying that Sheikh Mansour's pumping money in through the back door, aren't they? That's what they're basically saying. Which, according to the rule book, is not allowed because an owner can only pump in 100 million a year, a season, something like that. I think they can only put in. So what they're saying is, for example, the email 30 million quid that, by the way, was actually sorted out at CAS and dealt with, but for some reason, that really stupid documentary wanted to prove it as brand new. No, but the simple fact is, say 30 million is, they're saying we're getting, say, 7 million off that company that is on the email, and Sheikh Mansour's giving that company the other 23 million. So he's paying himself to pay himself, basically, is what they're saying. Which, according to the rule book, is wrong. But I don't think he is doing that. I really don't think he is doing that.
I don't mind if he is. I hope he is. If I buy a new house and the kitchen needs fixing up, nobody's going to tell me I can't fix my kitchen up. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Well,
don't ever win the lottery, move. You'll never be able to spend it because you're not.
Sorry, it needs to be in a business perspective. If I buy a restaurant, and I'm not having, if I buy an Olive Garden, I don't know if you guys know what that is, and McDonald's, and the kitchen needs fixing up. McDonald's next door is not going to tell me I can't spend money on my new restaurant I've bought, which is essentially what's happening. So they've screwed it up massively, and it goes back to when they first implemented the rules, and now it's just way out of control.
Yeah, and look at this as well, right?
Jason loves McDonald's. Nice one.
Yeah, Olive Garden. That's Italian, isn't it?
Yeah.
Olive Garden, yeah.
It's got amazing bread, garlic bread, and the bread there at the beginning.
Do you know, just quickly off topic, I always watch these fucking YouTubers that always eat like a load of food. Like, and I've seen them go to Olive Garden and stuff. But check this out. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys are all familiar with Stefan.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
He's just tweeted recently. And he's said, and this is sort of relating to what I think more of you said it, I think a minute ago, said that under Premier League Rule 51.5, the Independent Commission can now order Everton to pay unlimited compensation to any club. Leeds, Forest, Southampton, Leicester and Burnley now have 28 days to let the Independent Commission know if they want to pursue a claim for compensation. The big issue will will be causation. Claiming clubs will have to show that the £20 million breach was the cause of their claimed loss. This is likely to present some challenges, but remember, even one place in the league is a £2 million loss. So, obviously, like you say, very complex. But the clubs are probably going to the clubs are probably going to fight that. And listen, I would, I don't really. This is the problem. I don't really blame them. But a question that I wanted to ask you guys, right, is. Say in 2009, 2010, whatever it was, when FFP came in, say it never came in. Say it never came in and we just carried on. Would the landscape of football, in your opinion, be any different? To a significant degree? Or do you think 90% of stuff would have been the same? Trophy winners, etc. Do you think anything really would have been different?
You'd have had load more investors. You'd have load because the Premier League has blown up so much, such a powerful, just product, brand. You'd have had way more people investing in it. It's actually been a deterrent to investment, which is exactly what the people who wrote it. That was their idea. They didn't want Sheikh Mansours and Saudis and everybody jumping in. They wanted to control it themselves, stay at the top, collect all that, because the Champions League money is the elephant in the room, or what, I don't know what you call it, but it's the impetus behind this whole thing. There was so much money to be won by being in the Champions League, that's what drew all the investors in, right? So then those investors said, well, let's chop this off. Let's not let anybody else in. Let's keep all that Champions League money to ourselves. And what I'm long story short, I'm suggesting a lot more folks would have come in and invested if they weren't being told, hang on, you can only invest what you make, right? So,
do you know how many clubs would be screwed with that move?
How do you mean?
What clubs can only basically spend what they make depends, because the other side of this is, are we including debt? Because this is my thing with FFP here. I've never seen so many clubs in so much debt have so much chest in all my life. So, for example, United, Tottenham have a bit more of an excuse because of the stadium, but not merely big spenders anyway. Even Brighton, I was looking at. There is huge amount of debt within the Premier League, especially at the top. And they're all sat there moaning. But FFP, like you said, Lewis, was coming in to stop a Bury, stop a Bolton, stop a Portsmouth from going under. No, it was brought in because Manchester City got taken over and you got scared. That's why you moved the goalpost. You look in that first, was it the first year and a half, when they moved the goalpost 2 or 3 times? So we would fail that initial time. We were always going to fail that initial time because they wanted us to fail. It was designed to make us fail very early on.
If they were
but
concerned,
United can, how much debt are they in? Chelsea,
if they were concerned about the financial health of clubs, like that one quote that came up, that message that came up about like the clubs that just coming up and spending and overspending, it would have addressed debt. There's nothing in the FFP regulations about debt, and there's
can you to buy a big house?
We know why.
Big car if you owe like 5 mil and you have no money.
You know what? As well, I'd say this, because Morv, you absolutely spot on, right? And if anyone thinks that it's rubbish, because obviously Morv was speaking about the fact that it's all about Champions League money, and that these clubs need Champions League money to survive and thrive, but that they rely on the Champions League money, especially out of England. England's all right because England is just a brilliant league and it gets money. If you're in other leagues, they need Champions League money. If you think that that's not true, ask yourself this. Ask yourself the Super League, which is headed up by European teams. The English teams, I think, all joined reluctantly. I don't think maybe United and Liverpool like to join because of their owners, right? But I think most of it was led by the European teams. Ask yourself the question, if Morv's incorrect, why then in the Super League did they allow it to be a closed league? Why? Because, like Morv was saying, these clubs need the money. And in the Super League, they were going to rig it so that they always had the money. Because this is the problem with the FFP. The FFP was brought in to keep them at the top, but the clubs knew that they might still have a dodgy season. You know, any club could have a dodgy season. FFP won't keep them up the top every single year. Super League did. And that proves, again, that these clubs need the money to survive and thrive. And that's why FFP was brought in the first place. And the Super League was just a souped-up version of that because it allowed them to stay in no matter what happened, because it wasn't to do with merit.
Exactly. This idea of only spending what you earn is inherently flawed, right? Because not everybody's coming from the same starting place, right? We've got big clubs and we got little clubs. If you can only spend what you earn, favors the big clubs. The other thing, if you were going to do something like that, what you would want to do is you would have a spending cap. So every team can spend the same amount. So you've only got 2 options in fairness here. You've got the way it was before when you could spend whatever you wanted, right? Before FFP came in. And that was true for all clubs, no matter the size. If they were going to change it and they were worried about protecting teams from overspending, going out of business, all that, and even sporting fairness, right? Where if we all agree that the more money you spend, inevitably your team's going to get better, right? If that's true, then the only fair way to do it is to have a spending cap, so that every team is on the same level, you know. But they didn't. They came up with this sort of middle ground where it's like, well, you can only spend what you earn. It's biased. It's heavily biased.
I mean, Morv, how much of a dick, do you have to be to say that, oh, we can spend more than you because we're a bigger club than you? That is the biggest dick move I think anyone could possibly say. If I heard anyone say that, I'd just be like, you are a twat. No, that is completely ridiculous. Manchester City should be able to spend as much money as Luton. If Luton get a billionaire owner tomorrow, they should be able to spend whatever money they want. Yeah. In my opinion, the thing that should be there, they should bring in something to protect clubs going bust, and that is not FFP for sure. Yeah, I think we'd all be behind that. Every single person will be behind bringing in something to stop them going bust. You know, something to protect operating expenses for a year or something like that. But A club should be able to spend what they want. If a billionaire buys Luton Town tomorrow, Luton Town are never going to get to the revenues of Manchester United, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. They're not. They're never going to do that. So the only way that they're going to be able to win Champions Leagues is by investor investment. And you're basically saying, oh, well, you can spend what you want if you get £1 billion revenue. Well, Luton Town are never going to get £1 billion revenue. So it's off the card. It's off the table. So Luton Town, you know what I mean, are never going to be able to win the Champions League. That's not right.
But
That's
this is why I've always said, like, when Newcastle got first taken over and they got really, and which I get it, I've got no problem with investment or an owner coming in and investing into a business. In fact, I love it. But as I said, because I had a couple of mates from Newcastle and they're like, oh, I can't wait. We're going to be up there with you in 2 years. And I'm like, you won't. You will not be up there with us in 2 years because you are not going to be allowed to spend the money to get near us in them 2 years because we'll just pull away. There's always going to be that gap. They're not going to have the time. So how did Newcastle close the gap on a Manchester City, for example? So because the revenue, City are not going to stop and let Newcastle catch up, for example, or somebody else. And that's what's wrong with this whole thing. This to me goes back to 1992 when they set up the Premier League. It was a boys' club then. Go back to look and why they set up the Premier League. It was all about money. It was all about we want our fair share. Go back to the day City were charging the day before in the white paper. It was all done because they want it in-house. They want to regulate themselves. And what today was a massive flex that we can self-control ourselves. Look what we're doing. We'll come down like a ton of bricks on anyone that goes wrong with us. And what they've done is made themselves, they've gone way over the top because you just said then about you don't mind Luton coming, and I'm with you on it. But under the current guidelines, they can't, as Everton have just shown. Everton have spent, what was it, 550 million when they were buying a Wolby and God knows what else they were trying to do. And they went worse. So they were spending the money to catch up with people to get to the top, and they got shitter, with all due respect. So having a millionaire owner, a billionaire owner, doesn't guarantee anything.
Guarantees nothing.
What he's pissing everyone off is it's the way City have done it and the business structure and the people they've got behind it and the hard damn work they've all had to put in to get City where they are. They haven't just clicked the fingers, just dropped off a wheelbarrow load of money and gone, oh, look, hey, presto, the CFG and City are here. That isn't happening. It's mad. Everton approved it. It doesn't work.
I've got some other thoughts on what Martin's saying here because it's really good about the origin of like the Premier League and the Champions League and the timing of it. the timing of it. There's also some really good stuff in the comments too. This is really good chatter. But first of all, I find it a bit ironic that the origins of the Premier League and the Champions League and the clubs that came up with it are really when football turned into a business, right? I mean, it's always been a bit of a business, but big money at stake came in when the Premier League and the Champions League were created. What's funny is the clubs that set that up, as soon as a richer person came around in that business, they started trying to change the rules, right? Funny that. I find that quite ironic. It was not Manchester City that turned football into a business in modern history. It was these clubs. And now that a businessman with more money than them is in, they want to chop him off. The other thing is, I did a bit of research myself, and I won't get these dates exactly right, but you'll get the premise of it. I was thinking about how arbitrary the start of, like, say, the Champions League was. And, like, isn't it weird that the people who were good at the time created it, right? And said, okay, we're going to limit it to 4 places in the English League. They were all in those 4 places. And they basically created a competition and awarded themselves the prize money, right? A very closed shop type. What I thought was, well, what if that competition, what if the Champions League was created like when United was shit, right? So I went back and I found a 10-year period I think that this would have been in like the 60s. Again, I don't have the dates exactly right. But you know how over a decade, do you know how many times Man United would have qualified for the Champions League had it started in, let's say, 1958? Once.
Shit.
They would have qualified for it once in that decade. You know who was good back then? City. They would have qualified 5 times.
Behave.
Right?
That means we've got an history.
Yeah. we were in the top 4 at least. So you just think about just the timing of it and how kind of arbitrary it was. If it had been done a couple of decades before, a different 3-4 clubs would have been hoarding that prize money for decades. So it's just,
I mean, to be fair, the Premier League has actually got used to it. The Champions League isn't 5th place getting a position now or qualifying position? Oh, and just
it's done on coefficient. So if England, apparently, there's a risk that it might not be England because Newcastle have shit the bed and so have United. But so basically, it's on City's hands basically to save the Premier League.
That's my point. It's on us for the Premier League to get that extra spot while they're shitting on us from a great height. But do you know what? It makes me laugh. It was the same. We were in the same boat. What, 2-3 years ago, going into this cast case, and everyone was going, "We're never going to deal with UEFA. We're never going to do with this." And I went, "I'll tell you what'll happen. We get chucked out, and they'll all become best buddies, and we'll go on and win the Champions League." Bang! It happened. As soon as that cast case got done, I think Sefrin came out with a quote. Was it the next day or the day before? "We can't wait to honour our great relationship with Manchester City moving forward." And City put out a similar statement, and I'm like, here we go. And I'm going to watch it all over again with the Premier League. I can see it. There's going to be this pattern of, they'll come out with that, everyone will moan, and then the Premier League and City will put out,
you know what, Martin?
Statement together.
It's funny you mentioned that, right? Because there is a part of me that thinks everybody in this country, and probably in Europe, thinks City have been dodgy all these last 10 years. There is a part of me where the Premier League are just, and they're coming under the Premier League's coming under pressure because people are saying you need to get on top of this, City cheating, and they're like, well, we've got no evidence. There is a part of me that's like, are they just sending City's accounts for the last 10 years? Because then it's like, if we find anything, we find something. If we don't, then no one can say we've not tried because we've looked at the last decade of account. And then if we clear, we're clear. And then it's like, no one can really say anything then.
Well, it wasn't pushed by the Premier League, was it? It was pushed by the members of the Premier League, which
Premier
are
League are the clubs in the Premier League.
Which are the clubs.
Yeah.
That's what I find ironic. We all know it was the Mr. Levy over in North London who's the one who's basically pushed the button on this and gone, I want these lot investigated. And so that's exactly what I think, Lewis. I think this is we had a look, we tried, we went back as far as we could with them, but there's nothing we can do.
What do you guys make of City's statement in the annual accounts when they spoke about these charges? City say they have irrefutable evidence. I spoke about this a lot today, and it's probably bored some people, so I apologize. But I feel that language, that terminology is so strong. It's not, they're not saying, oh, we're innocent, we're going to prove it. It's not, oh, we're innocent, this is an attack, we have irrefutable evidence. Now, if you Google the definition of irrefutable, it means impossible to deny. So, and they say they've got evidence. They're not just saying we can prove, they're saying we have evidence which will prove that we are right. City is saying that. That's why, because I've said all along, people try and cook me for this. I said all along, I don't know whether we're guilty or not. I don't know, because I don't know what the fuck they're doing anyway. I don't know what these charges are all about, specifically. And I don't know, only City know whether or not we're guilty or not. That's the truth. So people say, well, what do you think? Well, what do I think? I'll tell you what I think. I think that we're probably not guilty based on the words that Manchester City have said. What do you guys make of the terminology?
It's the opposite effect of the Premier League going for a number like 115 because it's so massive, right? It's such a huge number, and everybody's latched onto that, and it's that maybe you call it a smear campaign. It's City's reaction is the opposite of that. we've got to meet that level of smear with an equal level of defiance, right? Just to keep it in the middle, the narrative around it. So I think we've been forced to put out a strong statement because they're trying to smear us with a massive number of charges there.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I think they've been very clever. I think the Premier League have kind of protected themselves. Because I was listening to a podcast earlier with what's his name? Can't remember his name, but even he said there was a lot of jargon used and a lot of rule this, that, and the other from 8 years ago, and this is why they've had to go back through all the old rule books, and the rule books have all been updated and rejigged and reworded. It's a lot of, because when you actually say so, it tells me so. When you say to like anyone outside, what is it that you've been charged with? All they say is cheating.
Yeah.
That's it. They actually don't know, because all that has been pumped out by everyone is City have just been charged with 115 charges.
What's sad?
They've hid behind jargon and terminology that people don't tend to understand. So unless you're a City fan like us, we've had to learn it front to back, because we know it's going to come up every 3 days. So it's mad.
What's sad is if we just step back for a minute and look at what the three of us knobheads are doing right now. We're on a stream talking about money when we should be talking about like low blocks and false nines and all that. It's really sad when you think about it. I've just had a moment to sort of step back and what am I doing here? First of all, I don't even know anything about low blocks or false nines, but like football finance.
Yeah, and this is the sad thing for me, yeah, because like when I was growing up as a kid, I'm sure it's the same for you guys. The conversation was never about money. It was never about VAR. It was about football. Yeah. I went into school, you know what I mean? Whatever it was, high school, I was like, oh, fucking great game of the weekend, wasn't it? Very rarely spoke about referees. It certainly never spoke about money. Now all people do is speak about VAR all the time and money all the time. And it's a shame, really, that it's gone that way. But they've made it this way. They've made it this way through their own. It didn't have to be like this. It did not have to be.
Their clubs, the fans, they're fans of the clubs that created this problem.
Yeah. And when I was a kid, it was like, you talk about Cantona kicking fans in a stand at Selhurst Park or whatever else. I didn't know what Peter Swales or Francis Lee was really doing behind the scenes. Wasn't something that intrigued me. I started learning as I got older, but I wasn't that bothered. I wasn't like, but people now need to know who the financial chief operating is, the CFO. They need to know what the CEO is. Nobody actually knows who the manager is anymore, but they all know who the board are and what each role is doing. It's mad. The scary thing is today, as City fans, we should be talking about how we've got like bring your boots next Saturday and get a game, rather than talking about bloody financial issues. We've got Liverpool in like 6 days and no players, and we're sat here going on about on the day Everton have been charged, and Everton have lost points, and it's turned into like the number one trend today was Manchester City. It was Everton who got deducted points, and we were the number one trend. What happened? Did I miss something?
Yeah. What frustrates me as well is about this whole situation. It really sort of like frustrates me at like, because the media push this, and Gary Neville is guilty of this. They always go, this isn't what City are doing with the revenues and all this kind of shit. It's not possible. They must be cheating. I'm like, hang on a minute. How the fuck do you know what's going on at our club? Do you know what I mean? Like, how are you even allowed to say that? Do you know what I mean? How are you allowed to just accuse a company, any company, of just downright fraud? I mean, how are you allowed to get away with that without any repercussions? And if City have got like, why is it so difficult, right, for people to accept that the best club in the last decade in this country, right? And by the way, this country has the best football league in the world, has the best revenues. Well, because Manchester United have been shit for the last decade.
Because we wear blue.
And we go deep in the Champions League. We're always in the title race. We take the 2 other domestic competitions seriously. So if you're a sponsor, right, there's only one club that I'd honestly be looking at sponsoring, because that club's going far in all the domestic competitions and winning shit. And it's got a good aura about it. It's not got constantly, I mean, we have had one. It's not got constantly, players doing dodgy shit. It's not constantly sacking managers. It's not got a stadium that's falling down. It's not got all these things going on. It's a good, stable club to sponsor your company. Why is it so difficult for people to accept that? Listen, if it happened in 2013, I get it. But we are now in 2023. Why is it so difficult? 15 years after the takeover and a decade of being the best club in Manchester, that it's so unreasonable to suggest that Manchester City could have decent revenues. And what you've also got to take into consideration as well is that City are very big in the Middle East. My mum and dad go on holiday there. They were saying they always see City shirts in the Middle East. It's, wherever they go, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, whatever, and it's obvious why. It's obvious why obviously that happens. Just like I'm pretty sure that Chelsea were massive in Russia because of Roman. That's the way the game works, And obviously now that City have got all the clubs with the CFG, I'm sure that it'll start popping up there, you know what I mean, in all them sort of places. Because if I was a Melbourne City fan, for example, and I didn't have a Premier League club and I fancied getting into the Premier League, I'd probably choose City because it's the same branch. Same with New York City, etc. Yokohama, whatever. I just find it a little bit strange that it's completely dismissed of being possible. And if this FFP investigation comes back and City are not guilty, which I still don't know what's going to happen. Maybe we will be guilty. Who knows? Is he going to turn around and issue an apology? Is he going to come out and say, "Oh, all right, no, fair enough, it is legit"? Or is he going to continue to say it's not legit? Well, then you're questioning lawyers. You're questioning professional lawyers, independent from the Premier League and Manchester City. Are they lying? Are they lying as well? Are the CEOs who are doing statements that it's actually quite sad? I can't remember which company it was, but I think it's in the CAS document. But a CEO of a company who sponsors Manchester City actually went to CAS and did a statement and said to CAS, "What we are doing this legit. The money that we pay Manchester City is legit." A CEO of a company. Imagine sponsoring a company, right? Imagine Move, Noisy Pod, you sponsor I don't know, something to promote your podcast. And then someone says, "No, you Move, not the person you sponsor, you are inflated, and you have to go completely unrelated and speak up for you and say, no, this is legit. We're paying this guy money to promote our podcast, and the money that we pay him is legit, and it's all right. This is the amount we pay." How ridiculous is that? That we're in a situation where you're now calling in CEOs of other companies to back them up,
calling their integrity into question. Yeah, for sure.
And our sponsorships, we got loads of sponsors, and then someone, "Oh, it's all Abu Dhabi." No, it's not. Sony, Nexon, it's got there's loads. Cadbury's are involved in it. Our sponsor used that 712. We got over 300 million winning the treble. We sold a lot of players. City make money, and the real, like I said, you said we're calling CEOs in from companies. I'm not being well. I said this to a mate the other day. This is like bigger than the moon landing conspiracy at the minute, or the JFK assassination. Do you know the amount of people that would have to have been lied to or involved in this for what the Premier League have actually accused? I think that Nobbins video is bang on, LB, like you said today. It is like the moon landing. The amount of people that would have to be involved in it for it to be a cover-up is massive. You're talking CEOs of every company, CFOs. You're talking all the. By the way, City don't have small. They don't have the crappy little auditors around the corner at you. They have the world. Is it K? Whatever it was. KD. It's a company anyway. Someone told me. Another thing. These are world-renowned building companies that are auditing us. I'm not. Do you think they're just going? City have gone. Oh, here's the books. Have a look. Yeah, that's good. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's not kindergarten. Okay, that's it. KPMG. This is not. This is not playtime. This is serious mega books we're talking
And
about.
Martin as well. I've got to point this out as well, right? If this gets a guilty, right, then there's obviously only two outcomes. One, we are actually guilty, right? Or two, City just get roasted, and despite being innocent, miscarriage of justice or whatever. They're the only two options. I'm just pointing that as a fact. If they do get guilty, I mean, what does this mean for the UAE? What does this mean for Abu Dhabi as a country?
What does it mean for the UK?
What does it mean for the UK investment of 10 billion quid? Does that? I mean, that's where it gets nasty, and I don't actually like that, Martin, because
I agree. No, I agree with you.
Politics and that shit. But what does that
totally
mean?
Agree with you.
What does that mean for the UAE? Because if they believe that they are innocent, right, and they get their reputation is then, I mean, it's already decimated anyway. And it gets decimated even more for being outed as cheaters. I mean, what are they? They're not going to lie. I don't know. I'm not putting this out there as like a sports washing. I'm just saying it as a legit thing. I would imagine that they're not going to be very happy with that. I mean, what does that mean for them? Are they? I mean, what's that relationship going to mean with situations going forward? That's going to be a mess as well.
That'd be the ultimate embarrassment for them. That the ultimate shame of you're basically saying we've not done this legit. We're cheaters. They would be embarrassed, and I totally agree with you. I'm not saying that they should do that with the UK. I'm just saying there's a domino effect here that then could roll. Because I was talking to City Man yesterday, and he's like, "If City are found guilty, I want the board. I want the whole board gone. I want."
I'm just getting a beer, boys. Back in a sec.
I want Sheikh Mansour to sell up. I said, "Why?" Because he kind of knows about it. I said, "Right, okay." I said, "But which there will be fans who will say they want the owner to go the same way Abramovich. There will be that because they will be." And let's be honest, our honours and our achievements are not recognised now, Wolf. You know that. They're not recognised now.
Yeah.
They would be even less recognised.
Yeah, of course.
And as a City fan, I've always said if City are guilty and they get found properly guilty, and I would have to see it as properly, the evidence is properly seen and everything else. I don't mean, see it all, but they would have to really show they've done it. I would be really upset. I'm not going to deny. Wouldn't go as far as that, but I probably think they would get relegated.
Yeah,
I really do. I think today does show that if we are guilty, we will go down, and I don't even think we'll go down to the Championship. I think they'll drop us way down because what they'll say is, because I think if they put us into the Championship, they'll say that's not going to do anything because you'll keep your players. Your players won't go anywhere for 1 year. You'll pay more because you've got to remember the money ain't going to go anywhere. Because right now, as of now, we are actually legitimately making a shit ton of money.
Of course, yeah.
So knocking us for one season down to the Championship would have no effect really, because all it'd do is, and then you've got the embarrassment with the UEFA thing as well, because then UEFA would be saying to the Premier League, "Hang on a minute. How's this one going to work? Yeah. The advertising is going to be messed up here, isn't it?" and then I do think if it's properly guilty, which I don't think it will be, I think they'll kick us down to League Two.
And that's fine.
We'll do what they did with Rangers, basically. You're going, not maybe a sphere, but they'll go, you're going back to the bottom.
My take on it will be this: just like even if we're found innocent, the court of public opinion will never believe it.
We're guilty anyway, aren't we?
I'm the other way. Even if we're found guilty, I don't give a toss, because I'll never be embarrassed by spending less money than other clubs and winning the same competition that they're in. I'll never be embarrassed by that. I'll always be a City fan. I won't blame an owner for investing money in the thing that he fucking owns. I'll never be embarrassed by that. So as much as they'll never believe that we're innocent, I'll never believe that this wasn't a stitch up. You got us. Great. You've found an owner that invested in something that he owns. Great. Nice one. You set it up from the beginning, and you finally got your payoff from it. But I'll be there. I'll be there with you and all of you in the chat. In Division 2, we'll get our Kappa gear out. We'll get our inflatable bananas on, and we'll be back at it. And you know what? We'll win the fucking Premier League again before Man United, guaranteed.
That'd be hilarious. And you know what? That'd be the biggest thing going down to League Two, and we'd have nearly 60,000 people sat in the Etihad again, and they wouldn't know what to say at that point. They'd be gutted.
Big up LB98 with the super chat. Arsenal fans are praying we are guilty. I think a lot of fans of clubs are, because I think that what they want a get out, because their clubs have been so dead over the last decade. Only Liverpool really can probably, and maybe Chelsea, because they've won a couple. I think they won they won one Prem and a Champions League. The rest of them, United and Arsenal, they're using this as a get out, because they want to say, it was only possible because you cheated. And if we're not, and this is why a lot of those fans, even if we get found not guilty, will still say that we're guilty. Why? Because it's a coping mechanism for how shit their clubs have been over the last decade. Because then they can just say, oh, well, the reason why we didn't win is because they were cheating. Because what they don't want to do is, the reason we didn't win is because we were shit for the last 10 years. That's the truth. This is a
free card.
Yeah, this is a tweet from a guy called Fraser Fletcher. He's a journalist at Team Talk, and he used to be a correspondent at BBC Sport. Don't know how good he is as a source. I'm just putting it on screen. You guys can make your own mind up. But he's tweeted out a little bit earlier on and said, Manchester City and Chelsea are among clubs that could be threatened with a 30-point deduction or automatic relegation should charges be filed and proved in an independent regulatory commission. There are now also whispers of other clubs now panicking about how they have acted. So obviously clubs other than, I suppose, Everton, Man City and Chelsea. And this got me thinking, right? Because obviously Everton went, if you actually check it out, Everton went to the Premier League and said a couple of years ago, or whenever it was, and said, look, we might be on the brink here. We might be about to breach these rules. And obviously that didn't help them, because in the end they still breached them and they've got punished, which is, I guess, is right, just because you admit it. And Chelsea have obviously, as we all know, self-admitting to all these things under Roman. City have had our emails hacked. It sort of poses a point. Should the Premier League just say, right, everybody, give us every single thing you've got for the last 10 years, and we're going to investigate every single club over the last 10 years, get it all sorted, and then we'll go from now. Because it's not really right. Because you look at the Chelsea situation, I feel a little bit sorry for this Bowley guy. He's took over the club. He's then done he's got in and seen all the documentation and everything, and he's found all these dodgy deals, and he's doing the right thing. They're self-reporting it to the Premier League, but they're going to get fucked, because obviously just because you self-report doesn't mean you're not going to get fucked. Whereas these other clubs sat on probably the same sort of stuff, and who were not self-reported it, who were going to get away scot-free. And I just feel like,
hacked.
well, yeah, you've been hacked. So it's almost as if, like, should they just check everyone? Because let me tell you something, yeah. Pretty much every single club in this league probably has been dodgy at one point or another. 100%. You're not telling me that's not true. I mean, Liverpool hacked our database. Arsenal cheated in the 1920s or whatever it was when they kicked Tottenham out.
United got done about 2 months ago, didn't they?
United got an FFP.
By UEFA.
Yeah, UEFA FFP there. So they cheated.
Liverpool got done, I think, in 2014.
Yeah.
But got off because do you remember they were going to build that new stadium?
Yeah.
So they were spending on that.
Is that the one they were going to originally share with Everton? They were going to do that.
Possibly, yeah.
Share one.
Yeah, so they were spending a lot of money on that, on the design of that, and they went over FFP. But because the stadium never materialized, they got to deduct it and they got cleared. So,
I think it'd be very. I mean, what I was listening to today, they said that there's a lot of really twitchy bums in the Premier League right now, because they're like, is it going to be? Because this is what someone said. The Premier League might have to be careful, because they might start unearthing stuff they don't want to unearth, and they might start seeing things they don't want to see.
Yeah.
And then the whole league then starts becoming corrupt then. Because without a shadow of a doubt, do I think there is a football club in the Premier League that is like whiter than white, totally clean, we do nothing wrong? No. Everyone, I think, has done, not saying it's bad or broke, but I think everyone's probably stretched the rule or something like that at some point.
Financially, yeah.
Yeah, of course, it's, I mean, it makes me laugh because, I mean, I'm going to really keep a close eye on like the Barcelona cases going on because I'm really interested. Real Madrid, imagine Real Madrid in the Premier. I know it's different, it's La Liga, but you know that famous story of selling the training ground and buying it back for what was it, €1 or something to get them out of all the debt. If you went back through football over its time, they'd have bet there's been some really shady deals that have gone under the
big
table.
time.
And everyone's just turned a blind eye to it.
Yeah,
It wouldn't be near as much if they hadn't come up with these stupid rules in the first place. You know?
Well, you know what's funny? I said this yesterday on a stream, or it was Matt Minstelli, I can't remember what it was. I said, if you get rid of FFP, then there wouldn't be any rules to break. So teams could just spend what they wanted and it'd just be chilling. And then someone said, "Oh yeah, that's good. Get rid of police to reduce crime." I said, "Fucking what are you talking about? What are you all right? Are you seriously all right? Are you seriously comparing getting rid of a financial restriction to getting rid of police? Come on, man."
Oh, it's coming back to City going into prison because we've committed all this, and someone, no, you just broken rules in the Premier League.
Exactly. It's
We're
not the scandal that they're making it out to be.
Going on here. People aren't going to prison for 20 years. It's a rule break within the Premier League, is what they're accused of us, not criminality. It's like, oh, if I see the word fraud one more time, everyone thinks we've committed like mass fraud. It's like, wow.
It is wild. It is absolutely wild. What do you guys have any opinions on what you think's going to happen? When the day comes, Manchester City release statement. What do you think that statement's going to read? Is it going to read, "We're not guilty, we're happy to prove our case"? Is it going to be, Manchester City are disappointed to receive a fine? Is it going to be a transfer ban? Is it going to be relegation? Is it going to be points deduction? What do you think? What's at the top of your mind of what you think's going to happen? Big up Joseph, by the way, for the super chat. I appreciate that, bro. You're absolutely spot on, bro. What do you think's going to happen?
Once again, the last person on this planet that has any insight into this is me. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, is today a bit worrying that the points deduction for Everton for what, in comparison seems quite minimal. What was it, 20 million over the limit?
Yeah.
20, 30 million. I mean, that's.
Well, I said this on a stream today. I did a reaction stream, and there's a lot of City fans that didn't like what I said. But the facts are the facts. If they've got a 10-point deduction for a 20 million overrun, an FFP, over a 3-year stretch, and City are being accused of effectively cooking the books for a decade, you've got to use your brain and go, that's severe. And this is what Stefan said today, who's a football accounting expert,
yeah,
who goes on TalkSport because they want to know what he's got to say. And again, today has said the same thing. If City are found guilty, it's serious. It's not going to be a slap on the wrist if it's guilty. And I said that today in the stream, and a lot of people didn't like to hear it. A lot of City fans were saying, "LB, you chatting shit." I was like, right, fair do. You believe what you want to believe, man. But I'm telling you, if we get found guilty for what they're accusing of us, it's going to, I can't speak, it's going to be bad. It's not going to be a slap on the wrist. It's going to either be a severe. No, well, we're going to get fined anyway for the cooperating thing because that's what happened at UEFA.
Yeah.
So we're going to get that anyway.
That's my best guess. What happened at Cass will play out again.
To me, I think because people are about why is it taking so long, and then you hear this City are dragging it out and everything else. I think it is a little bit of, and this is just me surmising it. I honestly think City in the Premier League are trying to get themselves all out of this in a nice little happy bow. Because, and the only reason I think that is because, and maybe I'm being a bit naive, I don't know, but putting City and Chelsea out of the league is massive for the Premier League. It's in essence cutting their heads off. They're taking the cash cow and sending bye-bye to it. In essence, you're talking Pep, Haaland, everything just going out of their stadium, going out of their whole league. And I also think it'd be a bit of an embarrassment for the Premier League to admit they've got champions of this 6 out of the last 7, and you're saying that basically they have cut the books. I think it'd be embarrassing for the Premier League to admit that. And I'm not saying there's going to be a dodgy deal. I just think maybe this is more heart ruling head, because I do think if we are guilty, they will slam us.
Well, I think
I
what
think
you
they'll
were
slam
saying
us.
there, Martin, I would have agreed with that until today, after what they did to Everton.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah,
You know, like Premier League and City, you know, kind of keeping it quiet, and eventually maybe you'll get a fine or whatever, something that sort of appeases City in the Premier League. Was a likely outcome, I think, until today.
but it's very different though, isn't it? Because
It is.
in a way, the Everton was one case and quite a simple case. With us, and Everton also cooperated, didn't they? Everton were like, yeah, we kind of, like you said, they admitted that they were going to, they knew they were sailing close to the wind, whereas we've been charged like the 10 years is because what they've gone is, because we've not cooperated, as they call it, they've said, well, if you've got that year wrong, you've got the previous 8, 9, 10 years wrong then. So they've just preempted everything and gone right back. Because City won't cooperate, I think they've just thrown paint at the wall and gone, right, let's go into the investigation and see what we can make stick. And that's where I think it's a little bit different to the Everton, because Everton have gone, yeah, we'll cooperate, here we go. And they've tried getting out on technicalities, whereas we're going, for City to go, we have done nothing. Like you said, irrefutable. We've done nothing.
Yeah, that's what I mean by the terminology. It's very strong. By the way, if any of you guys need to go, feel free to go. I'm just going to carry this conversation on because it's good. But if any of you are busy and need to get off, just feel free to leave. Big up to Reese with the super chat. Says Dusty clubs want to leech our spot. Dusty leech dons. What the fuck is that, bro? Are you all right, Reese? What are you talking about, man? LB, see it off, lad. No, I'm not seeing it off, bro. What is that super chat, man? Appreciate the donation, bro. But what are you talking about?
Dusty Leech Dons. Love it.
I got a question for you guys.
Sorry, can you hold it just 1 second, LB? I got one thing. We touched on it earlier, but I find it really convenient that Manchester, 2 new clubs, City and Newcastle, sneaking into the top 4 now with some regularity, that all of a sudden another Champions League spot's opened up for England.
Yeah, it's very true.
Isn't that convenient?
That's what I was saying earlier. It's yeah.
I've got a question for you boys. And this comes from a place of revenge and frustration. But this whole Manchester City limelight on FFP has come from these hacked emails, right? Which City say are taken out of context. They don't have the full email chains, right? And obviously, it's not right. You know, we've all seen the emails where it's like, can you tell His Highness to route this money through whatever? If I was Manchester City, right, and I get guilty and we get relegated, and you know that we've been stitched up by other clubs, I'm telling you now, man, I'm not even gonna lie. If I was someone in the City board or whatever, I'd be paying a hacker to hack every single one of the other fucking Premier League clubs in the Premier League. In fact, go all around Europe, hack everyone, and just pull up every single bit of dirt possible. And that might sound like a dick move, but this is where the problem lies. Can you really hack? Can this all start by hacked emails? As City is saying, these hacked emails are taken out of context. And this is why people don't get the whole thing about cooperate. People say, well, if you're innocent, cooperate. No, I completely disagree with that. If the police knocked on my door, right, and said, LB, we want to go through your tax files. I said, what the fuck what are you on about? I said, oh, well, we got a bit of a tip off that, you're fiddling the books, the taxes. I said, well, first of all, who's told you that? And no, I'm not. Have you got a warrant? No. Am I going to let them in because I'm innocent? Am I going to let them come into my house, officers? Step right into my family home, go into my office and go through all my tax records for the last 10. Am I going to let them do that because I'm innocent? Should I let them do that? You tell me, should I let them? I'm
No.
innocent.
It's invasion of privacy.
I should just let them do it. No, I'm gonna stand up for my parents to say no. You gotta go down the fucking proper process. I ain't just gonna let you in my house and start checking all my shit just because some dickhead hacked my email and you got one part of the chain. You know, that's not that. I completely disagree with that notion. In completely in life, where if you're innocent, you should just do it. No,
It's
there's a principle.
backwards. That it's asked backwards.
Because
the simple fact is, in this, there is innocence until you are innocent until proven guilty. But in the wonderful world of social media that we're all in, it's now you're guilty. It's City have become guilty, and we've got to prove innocence now, and that's what's wrong. And it's like, I was saying earlier, the things they've said about us. Why is there no police that have been at the Etihad? Roberto Mancini said in an interview, I've not had one law enforcement agent speak to me yet.
Mm.
Do they realise what they've actually accused him of? There should have been a police officer at his door within 30 seconds. Not about, it's mad. And I think, this is where I've got a little bit, maybe it's blind faith that I think everything will be okay. I'd 100%, I think we're going to get done for the non-cooperation because that's standard now. You might as well just call us non-cooperation of C and just get the fine out of the way. It's easier because, just get it done. And I think we'll just move on. And I think what we've got to realise as a fan base is none of our rivals are going to apologise. Get that out of your head. They're not going to apologise. They're going to see us as guilty because they're jealous and they haven't. And like you said, their get out of free jail card for their club being run shit is gone.
Mm.
Go back and worry about your leaky roof and everything else. Off you go.
Mm.
Stop worrying about our finances.
No, you're right, mate. You're right. Big up Nine Men, my fellow Algerian brother, says they probably never watched Suits. What a series that is. Never cooperate. That's the rule. It's a trap. Nah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Always got to get the lawyer on side, innit? You know what I mean? Yeah, listen, it's going to be an interesting one. And obviously, we don't know how long it's going to take. People are saying it's going to take years. What's the outcome going to be? I mean, another thing that people don't like is today someone asked me, said, oh, well, what are you going to do if you get guilty? What do you mean, what we're going to do? What, nothing. And they don't like that. I want nothing. I'll rant for a bit.
They don't know us. They don't know us at all.
No, I'll rant for a bit.
Go back to Chelsea.
No, it's true. It's true. I'll have a bit of a moan. I'll probably say we've been stitched up. We'll probably do a stream. Us three will be here again. We'll probably have a moan. And then when we get relegated to Division 2 or conference or whatever, I'm going to do nothing different.
Back where we started.
Hey, honestly though, on that, now that we've won everything now, right? Isn't that so? Wouldn't that kind of be fun?
Start all over again.
Okay, I'll be buzzing if it happens. It happens.
I think that. I mean,
hey, I'll make it worse for you, Wolf. We may be Club World Champions in about a month. So are they going to relegate the current European champions, the Super Cup winners, and the Club World Cup champions? Bye, off you go and play Wrexham. See ya.
No, I'll be honest. Like,
it'd be hilarious.
On the podcast, I mean, there's a 90% chance that we've won the game that we're reviewing, right? And the players we've got are so good. I'm running out of ways to describe, and the manager's so good. Running out of words to talk about how good this team are. And, can it get a little bit repetitive? Yeah, it can. I mean, we only do a show, even one show a week. I feel like I'm saying a lot of what I was saying the week before and what everybody else is saying. A shake-up going back to Division 2, I welcome it. I welcome it. It'll be fun.
I'm off, but the thing is, Mub, opposition fans don't like us saying that because what they want us to do.
They don't know us.
They want us to be like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking stop supporting City, the twats. It's all bad. It's tainted our whole. And they will say, well, what all the opposition fans are gonna take. They're not gonna take your trophy seriously. I don't care. I don't care what you think of my club. I don't care what you think of our successes.
What's in there.
I don't give a shit, mate. I seen City win the trophies. I celebrated my pals. I'm chilling. I don't need a Liverpool fan to give me validation over my trophy. I don't give a fuck what you think, and I don't care what league we're in. And that's where they just don't like it.
Yeah.
They want us to crack. They want us to go ham. And as long as you just chilled out, that's where they see the frustration, you see. And
100%.
it's very interesting. Big up to Jenny P with a member chat says, how many years do you think it will take to get back to the Prem? Well, obviously, we don't even know what division we'd go into. This is the thing. Nobody knows. It's unprecedented. What league do we go into?
I don't even think Pep would go.
I don't think he would either.
I don't think they'd actually get what they want out of this.
No.
I don't think they'd actually, because I've always said, you all know, we're built very different as a fan base because we've been down there, we've dealt with the shit, and we've come back. So going back to Division 2 isn't actually, it's no biggie. We'll just, with 2 or 3 years, we're back again. We enjoy the ride. It's something different. It'd be a bit more of an adventure and away we go. But we'd start again. But I think what would annoy him more, you just said it there, I don't think it would fall apart. So I don't think Sheikh Mansour would go. The money then doesn't go. Haaland, well, maybe we'd lose 1 or 2 players, but don't think Pep would go. In fact, I'll be so bold. I think Pep would double down even more and go, right, give me a 5-year deal. Let's go.
You think?
I think it'll like fire up their asses.
You don't think the story of Manchester City dropping down 2-3 divisions and the climb back wouldn't be just
Netflix? Or
it'd be
Prime
the
Video.
biggest sports story.
Oh,
in the world.
You know what? This is I was just thinking this actually a second ago.
What about if they
said? Hey, Martin, what about if they said as part of their resolution, you guys have clearly cut the book, Sheikh Mansour has to sell the club? How funny it would be if he sold it to his brother. Who's richer than him?
It becomes the Etihad Stadium to the Etisalat Stadium.
Mate, just to wind people up.
I'll tell you what, it would tell me. I think Newcastle needs to be careful. So I think they're next. When they start coming up, I think they'll be targeted next.
Yeah.
I really do. I think Newcastle, because it makes me laugh when they go about state-owned and everything else. And Sheikh Mansour is actually on the government of Abu Dhabi. Well, he owns Newcastle. They're state-owned. I don't get all this crap that, like Mulv was saying earlier. It's noise. Just let them get on with it.
But this is why the thing should be scrapped, though, Martin, because ultimately, if it was gone, would City really have acted any differently if FFP wasn't there? Would United have acted any differently? Would anyone in the Premier League have acted any differently if FFP wasn't there? Maybe a little bit, but I don't think it changes outcomes in terms of trophies that much. I think it's all pretty much exactly the same, you know what I mean? So this is why the whole thing just needs to go for me. And they need to bring in something that focuses on protecting clubs from going out of business.
Something that talks about debt.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Instead of, a billionaire owner who, would continue putting money into the football club, that should be fine. So
debt. Wow. You just got half the Premier League sweating there. Mentioned debt.
Yeah. Well, exactly. But listen, it's going to be interesting to see. We don't know how long it's going to take, unfortunately. People are saying it's going to take years. I don't know.
Say that it might get decided next year.
Well, do you think so, or do you think? I mean, it's years because whoever loses is going to appeal, aren't they? I know they can't go to CAS, but they're going to appeal, and then that'll be another 8-9 months.
I don't know that we can appeal this independent body's decision.
No, from what I read, you can appeal. Can't go to CAS, but you can appeal for a new independent thing.
Okay.
So you just have to redo the whole thing.
You can't go to CAS with it.
But yeah, you can't go to CAS, but you can, because Everton basically going to appeal this 10-point, but they've been told that this appeal will be done by the end of the season.
Yeah. How weird is that?
So I don't know what this appeal entails. Does the appeal just mean that basically the whole process is repeated again with a new set of independent people? Well, if that's the case, if we wait another 2 years for City to get their outcome, and then City appeal that, will it then take another 3 years to get the appeal outcome? We could be in a situation where we don't actually know what's going to happen for 6 years.
Pep Guardiola might have been gone. We've got 2 other managers.
And the thing is as well, the difference is if City get relegated and then appeal, are they going to have to put that relegation on hold? Because if they relegate us and then we win the appeal, City will be like, oh, we should have been in the Premier League and we played in League 2 for 3 years. Like, what's
And
going
then the
on?
City go after the 9 clubs who did this, or then libel cases, slander case, defamation of character cases. You're like, yeah.
Well, Martin, you touched on this before, and I've seen a couple of people asking about it in the chat. If City win this case, if we win it, because again, we don't know what's going to happen. If we win this case, do you think City should do anything in terms of hitting back, releasing, whether it's by releasing mega statements calling out clubs, whether it's by maybe a court case, I don't know. But do you think City should do anything, or do you think they should do what they did with UEFA and just be like, oh, we're best mates now? Like, what do you think we should do?
Personally, for me, I would love them to go, yes, we're going to take you on. I don't think they will. I think it'll be a UEFA case because you've still got to do business within the Premier League. They've still got to. If you go and start suing all these clubs, where'd you go to do your business? Where'd you go to start buying players from? Because it becomes a very awkward. I know by law you can't because there's trading laws and everything else, but it can be a bit awkward. You might get an extra 10 or 15 million added onto your price tag as you're going along. I'd want it all over for me. I just want it over, end it, finish, let's get on.
There's somebody in the chat, whenever I bring up debt, they're talking about, well, it's normal for companies to work.
Who's this?
I'm not sure. Olu, I think. It's normal. A lot of companies run, with working debt. Yeah,
in the first couple of years, it is.
What else is normal? Them investing in themselves and that being allowed.
Very true.
And by the way, Mo, actually, as I believe, can we make one business? In the first 2 or 3 years, yes, having debt's normal. But if you've still got debt 10 years down the line, you're not a great business.
If the three of us go to a financial advisor today, what's the first thing I want to know about our finances?
Any debt?
Yeah, because they're giving us financial advice, right? What's the big? Yeah, that's ridiculous.
The point is, with United and everything else, it's long-term debt and it's getting bigger.
If it's
debt
called,
should not be getting bigger as it goes on.
If it's called to run a business with debt, then why do they all want them out? Why do they all want the Glazers out?
And I'm sorry, I agree here with Matt. Debt is part of every company, right? So a lot of companies do have debt, especially when interest rates were low. The difference is, though, football clubs need to be protected, right? And if they have debt and the owner stops putting money into the club, not only then are they not meeting the wages, they're also not meeting the debt repayments. That's the issue for me. For example, if City don't have any debt, right, and Sheikh Mansour pulls out, then all we have to do is manage the operating expenses of the football club.
Yeah, but that can be United.
Yeah, but United don't have that. They have that as well as the debt, which is, I think and I just think because of the nature of football, absolutely right. A lot of companies do have debt. Yeah, a lot of companies do have debt, but the difference with football clubs is football clubs need to be protected at all costs. Why? Because they're part of the community. People like a lot of people's lives revolve around football, especially people who go to games. You know what I mean? They go to work, they spend pretty much all their money on football. And believe me, Martin will tell you, Move will tell you guys, for people who are international fans, that is true. You know, I used to do it when I was younger. I used to go following City all across Europe, home and away. It costs a lot of money. Probably about 70% of my wages went into watching City because of the flights and the travel. So the differences between a proper company like Apple or Microsoft who can manage the debt is that if they go bust, okay, there might be some problems around the world, but no one's going to be sat there and crying their eyes out because they're not a football club. That's the difference for me, and that's why again I think we should have an aim personally in football to have all clubs debt free, because I think that's just the way it should go.
That's what FFP was stopping though. It was to stop Bury, Bolton, Portsmouth, Leeds United. Leeds United had a shitload of debt. Running a football club on debt is very different to running a separate company.
Yeah, correct.
You got to remember, and not only that, the Glazers didn't bought United with debt. They basically bought United, got a loan, and they went, "Well, what collateral have we got for your loan? What we're buying? What? That's utter. None of us could do that."
Martin, look at Barcelona, as Boy Racer UK says. One of the biggest clubs in world football, and they're being strangled by debt. That's what fucked them, is now their debt, and now they're selling future revenue. I mean, how this is because they've got to make their debt repayments, because they've got to sell future revenue. And this is the thing. I completely understand when you talk about other companies. When you talk about football clubs, I think we need to be really careful about just saying, "Oh, every company has debt." Yeah, every company does, but football clubs are not every company. They're different. So we go through a couple of these super chats. Big up to Reese, says Dusty Leach Dons. Oh, fucking here he goes again. Dusty Leach Dons be anti-climax mode then, lads. What are you on about, bro? I don't know what you're talking about. What's he on about? Does any of you knows what he's going on about here? What's it? Dusty Leach Dons? What is a Dusty Leach?
Do you know him, Wolf? Someone you know?
No, it's not one of mine.
I think he messaged me before.
I can't claim
Instagram.
him. No.
Is this the guy who messaged me before? I think he's on the Bears, man.
I claim Jake Levitz, but that's it. Beyond that,
we're checking his DMs now.
He did. He messaged me before. He put LB Dago G 100 emoji.
Okay. It's one of yours then.
He's fucking one of mine. Sorry about that, boys. Says LB98 says, what about City's women's team in WSL? Yeah, well, I don't know how that all works. Like, are they part of the same financial statements? I mean, I guess they are. They maybe they are. Yes. I don't know.
That's what I mean. I don't. Where does it go? Is it just Manchester City, or is it? Because I can't imagine it being the CFG. Can't imagine it then going into other elements of the business. I presume it's just Manchester City, isn't it? Because that's all has been in the statements, and it just Manchester City. There's been no CFG stuff or that I've seen anyway.
Well, this is where it gets probably a little bit murky. Is the women's team involved? I don't know. Massam says, seen a lot of rival fans feeling sad for Everton, which is funny because the only reason they're showing sympathy is because Everton isn't winning. Well, I actually think Everton are going to be fine. I think they'll survive, and I'm going to check tomorrow the odds, and I might whack a tenner on them staying up, depending on what the odds are, because I just feel that like there's three worse teams in the league than them. There's three, and I think they'll still be fine. So, and ultimately they broke the laws, they broke the rules, so they are going to have to face some sort of punishment. But as we mentioned before earlier on in the stream, is what how do you give a punishment for a financial breach? Who decided 10 points was the adequate amount? Because it's difficult.
Well, there's no predecessors to it. There's nothing to show for it.
Well, as one of you guys said before, I can't remember which one. They've now set a rod for their own back. They've now set it. So if someone now does 25 million, well, you're going to have to give them more than 10 points.
Oh, it'd be interesting if United broke tomorrow and said, "Oh, United have broke FFP. They've only broke 2 because I'm betting money they're not getting 10 points deducted."
Oh, he's run off. I just didn't like somebody telling me that, you know, it's normal for businesses to run off debt, but at the same time saying that an owner can't spend money.
I didn't get that. I think it's just
an owner can't spend money on a business that he owns.
And the way I've always understood it is debt shouldn't be an ongoing thing for the rest of the lifetime of the business, because that's what it's like. It's not making money.
Martin, would you be all right if they introduced a salary cap and a spending cap where it was the same for every club?
Well, they are, aren't they, with these new FSRs? You're only allowed to spend percentage of your earnings.
Yeah, not like that though, because that's not even for every team. I'm talking about something that's the same for every team.
Like in the MLS.
Yeah, I don't know it very well, but I mean that sounds like something they would do. Yeah. Well, I think it would have to be a UEFA thing, right? Because you can't have one country's cap be more or less than another country. So what if UEFA said you can spend I don't know 200 million a summer, and it's the same for everybody.
My only worry for that is because I think it would be a good idea. My only worry for that is, are you going down the Bosman rule to where you're going to get one player who's going to go to court and say, well, that's kind of
restricting how much I can make,
restricting my earnings there, and I could get and then you've got because the trouble is they've got so many other deals on the side, like with Nike or Puma or whatever on image rights, sponsorship rights, and like look at Messi. You know, the reason Barcelona were okay with Messi for a long time is because they were getting more money from the sponsors to pay his wages. It's when that sort of stopped a little bit and Barcelona ran out, and they had to then start putting their own hand in the pocket for Messi, is they started struggling a bit. So I love the concept. I think it's an excellent concept. I think you'll get the players bitching though.
So if we agree that it's a really hard thing to do, then don't we have to just then go back to the way it was before? Because this middle ground isn't working. It's created this. Look at this. We've got people trying to sue each other because they broke the rules and somebody got relegated, and it's just let's just go back.
For one reason.
Yeah, exactly.
And they don't know what to do now.
Can I tell you my?
What's your solution?
My pub solution. You only had a few pints, and you're like, "Oh, this is my fucking solution."
Still be here at 3 a.m.
Is it luxury tax
with a kebab?
Yeah, no. My solution, right? My solution is not perfect, but if we're talking about saving clubs, my solution is that every club has to put in 1 year's worth of operating expenses into an escrow account. Now, you've got to give them plenty of time to do that because the bigger clubs are going to take longer to do it. Well, some of them will because obviously they've got bigger operating expenses. For example, I think City's was like 500 million. So you've got to give them like a decade to do it, yeah. But then after a decade, so say it got introduced tomorrow, City have to put £500 million into an escrow account, which meant that if Sheikh Mansour tomorrow said, I'm done with this club, I'm not putting a single penny in, City have 1 year worth of money to pay all the players, pay all the staff to find a new owner, right? If by that deadline, so 2033, a club didn't have that money in the account, then they receive a 20-point deduction. The club and the points deductions are sort of set by how percentage you are close to what you need to do. And then the fans will know that the reason we're getting this point deduction is because my owner's not protected my football club by putting the money in the bank account. So City got fined in 2033. It's not because we're being screwed, it's because we've not protected my club, and my club is now at risk. And then every year, if your operating expenses go up by 5 million, you have to top the escrow account up by 5 million. Now, some people will say, well, yeah, the problem with that is that rich clubs like City and Newcastle can just deposit 500 million in and they'll have an advantage over everyone else because they can continue to spend. Whereas a poorer club are not going to be able to pay the money into the escrow account and pay for transfers. But my point on that is, well, you can't have your cake and eat it. If you're serious about protecting clubs from going bust, you take that 10-year period where some clubs are going to struggle to put money into the account and pay for transfers, so they might stagger. But after 10 years, when the money's there, they're safe and then they can kick on. Now, I know it's not perfect, but it prevents clubs from going bust once the money's there. You can top it up every year.
Would it depend on income and revenue and all that, depending on the club?
No, nothing to do with that. It's all about expenses. So if Manchester City spent £500 million on stadium, maintenance, salaries, everything, whatever they paid out, whatever went in their outgoings
goes into the escrow.
Yeah. So then the next year, if the owner decided to go, they've got a full year's worth of costs in that, and you can even do it previous year plus 10% to cover inflation for the following year.
You'd have to put it with someone very trustworthy. You weren't going to screw that over down the line.
Yeah. You know, I get that, but there are companies out there that do that.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
I think that would be an okay thing. But obviously, people will say, yeah, but for the 10 years, some clubs will struggle. Well, the thing is, yes, they might struggle to put the money in the account and spend transfers, but they've also got lower operating costs, so they should be able to, I don't know. And then, top of the league says who gets the interest. You know what? Give the interest to the grassroots. Give the interest to the grassroots.
Yeah, it's weird because, like, I think in the Premier League, each club has a different mindset. Like Luton Town have come up, and they're really there to get the money and ready to go back. They're sort of like, we're set for life. Do you know what I mean? And we'll go back down. We'll take this money. What is it? 120, 130, 190 million or whatever it is. They'll build a nice stadium. They'll have to go pop back down again. And then you've got your Aston Villa who came up who what spend 130 million, stay up and then compete. So I think it is a strange one because I think in a way, and I'm to making a long answer at this, but in a way, we have a Super League within the Premier League and we've not realised it.
Oh, no, I think we do. I think we do realise it.
So I like your idea, LB, but I'd do it in different. I'd put different amounts depending on what class you, and maybe that's where it becomes dodgy. You're having to class teams off into certain.
What do you mean different amounts? What do you mean by
so? Like, I wouldn't expect to Luton to put in the same amount as City, but I would expect.
But no, they don't have to. It's their operating expenses. So if
then they cannot. But I would like it that maybe Luton can get a bit more back out of it, percentage wise.
What you're on about? I don't know what you mean.
No, because for me, what I'm saying is Luton Town, for example, in their heads are coming up for 1 year, really. Get the money and then piss off back down again.
Right. But if they get relegated, then their players on the Premier League.
They're not bothered because they're only coming up for the money.
No. Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, you've got to give them time. So promoted clubs would get like a grace period to meet the time. And remember as well, Martin, that say you're Everton, right? And you've got £300 million sat in an account. If you got relegated, yeah, your players reduce the wages because if you're a proper football club and not Sunderland Football Club who did this with Jack Rodwell and just let him be on 70 grand a week in the Championship, you have a clause in the contract to say if your players get relegated, your wages reduce. So then if you was to get relegated, Martin, and your operating costs come down, then you should be able to take out the proportionate amount from the escrow to put in your football club because then you're still matching. You've still got the year's worth of things.
Yeah, so it's like an extra parachute payment in the end.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with this suggestion, bro.
I don't have the capacity to deep it.
We do not have
all the implications.
Nearly half 11 going right. Has he got that? And I'm like processing it.
Let me ask one more question, and then I do have to go.
Okay.
It's dinner time here in the States.
Yeah, I've got a shooting fire.
Do we take football too seriously? Meaning, would it be the end of the world if some clubs went out of business?
No, I think we take football. I think we're now taking football business too seriously.
So that second part that I asked, is it okay if some clubs go out of business? Isn't that just business?
No.
Wouldn't they pop up again in some different sort of form? If City disappeared because of financials, wouldn't we all create a new one?
It's not the same, no, Move. I know Bury might a lot of club local to me, and they created a new club, and it's a mess, man. It's not the same. It's the fabric. Look. It's not the same, man. I think the club that you need to ask here is Rangers. Rangers fans are probably the club. Is it? Do you feel the same? Do you still feel like that is the same Rangers as the one that went bust and that went out and you started a new one? Like, is it this? I don't know. I don't think so.
Does anyone know any Parma fans?
No.
Parma would have been great because they were like up there in City out flying away and then just went and then I'd start again, didn't they?
But the guy in the chat nails it here. And this is the dilemma. FT Photon nails it. Clubs aren't businesses though, they're cultural assets. And that's where we're caught in the middle, aren't we? We're caught in the middle, and that's what's
it goes back to what we said earlier. When we were younger, we didn't give a shit about business side of football. Like Lewis, we're now talking more about FFP and the business and the chief execs than we are about the actual game. That's mad. Like I said earlier on, we've got 13 players, lads, fit for Liverpool. Kovacic is out for 3 to 4 weeks. What we're doing, but we're all sat here now going, Everton, and City, and it's this is what I think we are now in too involved. I think as fans we've become too involved sometimes. Because every fan now wants to be Pep Guardiola. Every fan now knows the 11 better than Pep Guardiola. You've all seen it on match day. That 11 shit, what's he doing playing him? I'd have gone with that formation and that day, and we'd have been 4-0 up by now.
I've got a whole podcast dedicated to that.
But that's what everyone's that now, but it's not even done in the tongue in cheek when we were kids. It's now done as though like they are now stood on the sidelines with him. It's done in a very serious. Football's become very. It is serious, but it's become that little bit more serious where people are now like getting a kick out your team going under, going out. Politics, race, everything's coming into it now, and you're like, it's a game of football at the end of the day. I know we love it, and I know it's mad to a lot. Mad to me, I love it, but if City get relegated tomorrow, I'm still going to go and watch. I'm not, I'll be upset for a few days, then I'll move on. It's not, I don't know. I think the business aspect of it has just blown it all.
Yeah.
I think it's mad.
Greed, isn't it?
Oh.
It is. It's a pretty crazy one, man. You guys, any final sort of statements, anything that you want to mention before we wrap up, man?
What's that Reese saying? Where's he at?
Reese.
How do you say his name?
Jakes.
How do you say his name?
Noisy pod one of the twats.
What are you talking about?
What Jake's put here? Jake Levis.
What's he saying?
Hashtag Noisy pod one of the twats.
Oh, we've got a FIFA team. I think we're going to be changing our name. It's currently Noisy Pod FC, but I think we're changing the name to Dusty Leach Dons.
That's LB's. He was having that.
I'm fucking gonna rob that off you, bro. Yeah.
Copyrighted it, trademark.
There he is, Reese. Yeah. Someone in the chat told me to put on 402 Sky Sports, and it's the Denver Bar goal against Liverpool. And you know what's mad about that game? Because we are going to wrap up now. I know you guys need to go. Is that they didn't actually need to win that game, Liverpool. A draw would have been all right for them, and it's stretched because obviously they ended up losing, but it's a bit of a madness. Right, okay, I think we've done. Anything you guys want to say? Anything that you want to wrap up with, or?
No, just thanks for having me. I'm off Noisy Pod, weekly podcast based in the States. We're going to be going on 9320 this weekend, so maybe Monday, if you're a 9320 subscriber, you'll hear us on with those lads.
Yeah, great stuff.
Straight in with the plug. Straight in. No, but
yeah,
I'm starving.
Guys, defo go and check out Noisy Pod, man. Very, very good podcast. Very, very funny guys. And Joey, I say he's on the American Dream. I've only done 2 shows, and he couldn't make the second one. So, but he is in the group chat. I'm sure Move, if he's ever free, would jump on as well. But yeah, defo check out Noisy Pod. Martin, what's going on, man? When are you getting in me on the show, mate? I feel like you're just saying this now.
I don't know. I need to get everybody on, but we've got loads. I want to get. I've got so many ideas. Next week, what we're doing? Not doing much this weekend. I'm having a weekend off. Gonna start countdown to Liverpool. So yeah, and we're also, but yeah, we're gonna start getting more people on. We need to get more people on. Move, we need to get you on.
Brilliant.
LB, you know that. We need to get people going. Come and join us. But yeah, no, it's going great guns at the moment. Enjoying it. There was did a transfer show on Thursday.
Oh yeah.
Apparently I'm ITK. I'm not ITK, but apparently I am. But yeah, no, we did a transfer talk. Florent Wirtz, Picasso, and even a little bit of Kylian Mbappe.
Mbappe, yeah. Okay. Going into the clickbait route, are you?
No. No, the simple fact is he's only got 6 months left in his contract in January.
He does.
No one's talking about him.
Yeah, no one's. Yeah, no, you are right. No one's talked about it. It's pretty crazy, really.
And Madrid are out the running, so where else is he going?
Yeah, I don't know. It's very strange. It's very strange. But yeah, guys, make sure you follow Martin on the Mancunian way as well. Follow Move.
We do all the clickbait.
Yeah, follow Morven Joy as well on the Noiser Pod. And of course, follow myself as we approach 10,000 subscribers. More LB for the second channel content. Link is in the description. Cooking videos soon come. Hope you enjoyed this Friday night stream. It's been a bit of a madness. Hour and 40 minutes. It's been pretty crazy. But yeah.
Let him cook. Let him cook.
Got video.
Let me cook, man. Hey guys, this is my sixth stream of the day now. I think I'm about to jump on a seventh for an half an hour.
He's on about his 7th day now.
Yeah. But guys, listen, enjoy the rest of your night, enjoy your weekend, and up the Blues. And wherever we'll be, whether it's Champions League, Premier League, Championship, League 1, League 2, or Vanarama Conference.
We will be there.
We will be there. See you later.
Right, well, I'm going back to Chelsea.